Here's the church, here's the steeple. Open the doors and see all the people. The people are the church because they do God's work. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. From the book of Mark, chapter 12, verses 30 through 31.
I would say Wednesday, that first day was really just cleaning out Pastor Scott's house, trying to just deal with everything around us. As the next few days went, we started trying to open the church up. We got some generators going, ended up having a charging station. Then somebody had brought in a little bit of food and some coffee. Within 3 or 4 days, the town had approached us and asked us if we'd be willing to feed the town since we were fully powered and didn't have any damage at the church. And within a week, we were probably feeding 400 to 500 meals a day, somewhere in that ballpark. Went on for the first 2 months. I mean, a normal day was just insane. It would start at 5:30 in the morning, and it would start with filling the generator. Somebody would come out, and we had generators up in the air, so it was probably 5 feet up, so you had to climb a ladder in the dark with a gas can, fill them, start them, get everything powered up, and then start cooking by 6. We'd be here till 8:30, 9 o'clock at night by the time we finished cleaning up and went home. So those first 2 months were busy. We had a lot of different faces in and out of the church all day long.
We made it out November 4th, and we came here, and Shirley was cooking hot dogs in a crock pot, and I was in after that. Like, we just started doing 14-hour days, like, straight out.
It really doesn't matter what the storm is, but the paying it forward, that need to give back, is more powerful than people realize. That's what we need to do as Christians, to pay a thank you. And it's in gratitude, not indebtedness, but gratitude.
There were not a lot of happy, fun times, laughing a lot. We just tried to keep everybody's spirits up, and that was the most important thing to do.
We'd be out of things, and we'd say, there's no more eggs, and somebody would walk through the door and go, I don't have anything to bring, but here's these eggs. And we'd go, wait a second, and it would continue to happen. People would ask for, do you have any flashlights, or do you have, and we'd say, no, we just have batteries right now. And then, you know, 10 minutes later, somebody would walk through with a box of brand new flashlights.
We went, okay, we could really use some forks, and then someone would show up with forks. But
so the joke kind of became, you know, go in the corner and whisper what you want, and it walks through the door. It's very, very cool, very cool.
We were getting a freezer upstairs on the stage, and a couple people from the church are up on the stage. They're moving stuff around, and Rich says to me, Shirley, do you know that there's a boatload of hot dog rolls up here? I said, yeah. I said, we just have to pray for hot dogs. And so in the back door comes this guy, didn't know him, and he said, Shirley, I have a whole truckload of supplies for you. Some are perishable. I said, well, what's perishable? Let's get those done first. He says, well, I have about 500 hot dogs. And I turned to Rich and Christy on the stage, and I said, well, I guess we need to pray for more hot dog rolls. So, and that's the way most of the things happened around here. God knew before we did exactly what we needed, and in the door something would come right when we needed it.
Prayer in action is love, and love in action is service. Try to give unconditionally whenever a person needs in a moment. The point is to do something, however small, and show you care for your actions, for giving your time. We are all God's children, so it is important to share His gifts. Do not worry about why problems exist in the world. Just respond to people's needs. We feel what we are doing is just a drop in the ocean, but that ocean will be less without that drop. Mother Teresa.
We had a woman who had a little girl, and the husband, well, she had other children too, but the husband had taken off after the storm. And she was trying to keep everyone in order, keep everything moving along, and she volunteered right along with us through all the tragedy, and her house had been totally devastated. But it just was so sad, but she worked with us and we with her. And she's making a great comeback now. But that was very touching to me.
We were going to evacuate the next day. We went because Carrie wanted to stay for the Halloween parade. So we'd stayed for the Halloween parade. And we weren't told that we could evacuate the next day at 12. So we were going to wait. So that night, the house was shaking, the wind was coming in, and I said to the kids, you know what? No, we're leaving. We left at 6 o'clock in the morning. I got the rabbit, the cat, the 2 dogs, the kids, got in the car, went to my mom's, Toms River, thinking that we were going to be there for 3 days like Irene. And we ended up there for 9 months. Me and Carrie would commute from Toms River to Bay Head every day, and I'd sit at St. Paul's all day long, wait for them to come home from school, and then we drive all the way back. Sometimes if they have activities after school, I do it twice a day because we had the dogs and couldn't bring the dogs with me, so I'd go back and forth, and so it was like 28 miles each way, sometimes twice a day.
I don't even know how exactly I found out that maybe I saw buckets outside and I went, maybe I could get some cleaning supplies because I needed to clean my house while I was moving back and forth. And I came in and got a bucket of supplies, and big red bucket. I actually still had the bucket, and it had, I don't know, gloves and stuff, a clothesline and soap in it. And you know, I needed to mop the floors over and over again to try to get them clean in the woodwork because I wasn't going to gut the downstairs right away. And I was hesitant. I was hesitant because I wasn't from Bay Head to go in there. But people kept saying, no, it's for everybody, it's for everybody. And I knew that there was something in Point Pleasant, but they were just passing things out. There was really nobody personable in Point Pleasant to talk with you. They just had bags of supplies.
She walked in a fog, and I saw her walk in. I went over directly to her and just said, "Are you okay?" And she didn't speak. So I just grabbed her hand, and I remember walking her to a table and just sitting down with her and saying, "Can I get you a cup of coffee? Can I get you some tea?" And she was very quiet, and I just sat with her and held her hand. And I just watched her, all of a sudden, just kind of her body just kind of fell. And she just said, I don't know what I need. I don't know what to do. My house is underwater, my business is gone. I don't know what to do, I don't know where to start. And she cried, and I cried, and I said, okay, well, let's get you some help. What do you need? And she said, well, I've been under my house. She had been under her own house, checking things out. She had started to clear out her own belongings without any help. And she said, the insulation is wet. I can replace the insulation by myself. And she was ready to do it all on her own, but couldn't. And so I said, okay, well, we'll come over to your house. Give me your address. I'm gonna drop off some food. We're gonna drop off stuff. And she said, no, I'll take it with me. I said, okay, well, let me pack up your car. We have all of this stuff here at the bistro. Do you need canned goods? Do you need water? What do you need? And she goes, well, I'm on my bike. And she wanted to take everything home with her on a bike, and I went, well, I'll drive my car to you. I said, I'm done with the shift in about an hour. Give me your address and we'll drop it off.
Well, before Sandy happened, I was pretty much, on my own. I had limited trust in people because I had felt a lot of people had let me down. So I knew I could count on me, and I could count on my kids. And when Sandy affected me, both in my business and my home, you know, of course I could count on myself, but I didn't know how to do it all, and I thought I could do it all, and the truth is I couldn't. And I guess going into St. Paul's allowed me to have faith in the people, because there were people I could talk to, and actually there were people who helped me without wanting anything from me. So that was a pretty big thing for me. It restored my faith in people. They just thought, okay, here's people who need something, and this is what I can do. It was difficult. It was difficult. It's really difficult to accept help. It's much easier to be on the, oh, I can help somebody else, than to even need help. Nobody wants to need help.
I started volunteering here, then got a job and became a member, and basically became part of the family in Bayhead, and I enjoy that. Well, in my case, giving back to the community by feeding everybody and helping coordinate the volunteers and helping anybody any way that I could. I made new friendships out of it, which is nice, being somebody who was new to town. So.
The Church of St. Paul Bayhead is on a mission from God to share the love of Jesus Christ, to care for others, to prepare to be in God's mission by being in worship, fellowship, prayer, and the study of God's Word.
People that came out of the woodworks and seeing, you know, this devastating thing bring out the amazing qualities that each of us possess.
A couple came down from Vermont on their way to visit their children in Virginia, and the gentleman was retired and had a Christmas tree farm on his property. He cut down a tree, brought a stand and lights, set it up on the corner of the church property for all the town to see, and it was most welcomed by everyone. What a lovely thing to do. It was just so generous of them. And people brought things from all over. I can't even remember some of them, but that was one that really stood out in my mind.
I know my son Robert, who came here from Montana after the storm, he volunteered to cook breakfast. And he had a tremendous time. He made some real good friends. They look forward to coming back and cooking. The people who did volunteer, and somehow they overcome the perhaps what we might consider inadequate facilities, but you know, everybody didn't care. They just did what they could from what was available.
Just trying to get through Christmas last year was really tough. Christmas was really hard, and people just were so outpouring with things for my kids for Christmas and for Easter. Some of the people there found out that Carrie did not have a bicycle. They all chipped in and bought her a bike. So now Carrie has a bike. So that was very, very touching to me, that they would go out of their way. These people that we just met just went out and they collected money. Colin Jacobs put a quarter in there. You know, everybody chipped in and they got her a nice bike. So that was very touching.
For me, it was a place of sanctuary and information and community and support, and which was invaluable in that time frame from the storm, even through now. It helped me understand my community a lot better, knowing who lives here that perhaps I would have never had the opportunity to encounter had I not visited St. Paul's. And it gave me a lot of inspiration, mental strength to get through living here. It was a very cold and depressing winter after the storm, and it would have been a lot different had St. Paul's Bistro not existed.
St. Paul's Church took care of all of us and fed us and did everything, lunch, breakfast, dinner, and I met everybody there. It was nice to be at a place where everybody was your friend.
A couple, John and Nicole, that borrowed an RV. They live in Vermont. They loaded it up with stuff, took donations, money donations, stuff donations, things that people needed down here, and drove down here and parked their RV out front and just came to cook for about a week. They were here and gave me a break over the Thanksgiving. While we did Thanksgiving, I actually was able to just be with my, my daughter. It was we were so involved with everything that you would almost be afraid to leave here because so many amazing things were going on, like you didn't want to miss a thing.
We built such great relationships, between Susan and Richard and Byron and Pete. Those people that came in the beginning, whether they were homeowners or whether they were people there to help, construction workers, contractors, the people that I met was the most amazing thing.
The genuine love and care that came from the people that provided at St. Paul's, that gave selflessly and generously their time and efforts and their sincerity. It's made an impact on my existence through the storm in my life, and it's something I'll just never ever forget as long as I live.
At Christmas time, it was, what do we do for Christmas gifts? All of a sudden, who'd been out Christmas shopping? No one. But items came in. Our church was just filled on the walls, boxes and boxes of things. And people made things, and we got items together so that Christmas would be Christmas. And it may not be the grand Christmas, but Christmas shouldn't be grand. It should be a remembrance. And that's what it was, and it was a remembrance with hope.
I mean, there was like a bingo game on New Year's Day that was just completely hilarious and ridiculous. It was very funny. That was a lot of fun. There were a lot of laughs that day, and prizes, became like rolls of toilet paper and, toothbrushes, stuff like that, and packs of candy for kids. That was funny, and it was totally just it was really for the fun game of it, and it was really, really, really good.
If they walked in the door, we helped them. Didn't matter what it was. Whether they, at one point we had clothes upstairs, we'd give them clothes. The whole sanctuary in the room we're in right now was completely filled most of the week with supplies all over the pews, and we had food, we had supplies, cleaning supplies, hot food. I mean, it didn't matter. If you walked in the door, you got help. And whatever it was. And if we didn't know how to get it for you, we went and found the answer to get it for you, or we'd find somebody that knew the answer to talk to. So that was really the only prerequisite. You just had to walk in.
The outside community says Bayhead doesn't need money because they're wealthy. They haven't asked any of the people their circumstances. So, yeah. It's hard to put those stereotypes aside.
It doesn't matter who you are, or what you are, or how much you have, or how much you don't have. You're at a point in your life where you need help. Helping someone is helping someone. And I think that, in this case, even though the people were more fortunate, they were still hurting. And that's what the bistro was all about.
Well, there was a lot of happy too, because those people, I just made so many friends there. I think if the storm didn't happen, I wouldn't have met half the people that I've met. So whenever anybody saw you upset, you got a hug.
I had an older woman come in, and you could tell she was shaken up, and we had been giving hugs to a lot of people through the course of the time that we were there. And she had come in and you could tell she wanted to talk a little bit. And I gave her a hug, and she just looked at me and she just started to sob. She had just lost her husband not too long ago, of 50-something years. And she said to me, I thought that was the hardest thing I'd ever go through, and this is so much worse. because I just don't know where to begin. And he would have been the one to deal with it. And she cried on my shoulder for probably 10 minutes. And I was happy to be there, but it really, that one tugged my heartstrings. I went home after that and had a couple moments for myself once I finally got home. And that was a hard moment, but a good moment in the same light.
You know, when you've always given, it's hard to take. And, you know, you have to learn to accept gifts from people. And, you know, just people at the church. Winnie Applegate, wonderful. You know, she took me to get Carrie's bike, you know. Just everybody, you know, Dale and Alan and you know, Connie, and I can't even name all the names, you know, Scott and Karen, just wonderful, you know. We couldn't have done it without them.
It's my path right now. I need help. And learning how to accept help, I guess that's part of grace too.
The people of St. Paul's, we are the church.